In today's episode, we are going to be taking intercession deeper. We want to find out who an intercessor is, the purpose of an intercessor, the function, what he is expected to be doing as an intercessor, and why is an intercessor or the work of an intercessor so important upon any family, upon any community, any nation, any people, anywhere. So who is an intercessor? An intercessor is a person or a group of persons who take the sin of another on himself or themselves, identify fully with the sin and the sinner, and then labor with God until the guilty party is forgiven. God has ordained the ministry of intercession so that through it, the need of people that would otherwise not be met are met. It is part of his great love for man. In intercession, the helpless can receive help, the ignorant can become informed, and the untaught can be taught. Although intercessors are so important, the tragedy is that they are in short supply. God himself has complained about their shortage, and there is much judgment that would have been averted had he found an intercessor. My people, are you hearing that? An intercessor is someone who labors for another person, for a people. Because of him, the unlearned will be learned. Those who have not received God's blessings, those who have not received God's salvation, will receive salvation because of an intercessor. Although an intercessor is so important, but then they are very scarce. That is the tragedy. Who is that person who will abandon his own self, who will abandon his business and take the sin of another person on his shoulder? Take the sin, in fact, accept the sin of another person as if he is the one who has committed the sin. Take it upon himself and the punishment, and then act and battle with God until God acts upon it. Who is that person? That is a tragedy we have. And if we find something lingering, perhaps peradventure, it is because God has not been able to find someone who has taken upon himself to pray, to intercede, to look. In fact, we are going to be discovering a lot of things through this series. A lot. Using other people's examples who stood the gap and God had to intervene. So please, are you there? You have that burden. You have that grace. Do not sit. People are dying. Nations are suffering. A lot is happening. Our country, Cameroon in particular, is in dire need of intercessors. Those who will pray and intercede and avert a lot of things. If we are facing a lot of insult in all the facets of our nation, it is a dire need that intercessors need to arise on their knees daily, praying, seeking for God's intervention. The judgment of God has come and is coming to the world, not only because the world has sinned, but because there is a shortage of intercessors. Are you getting it now? The Lord saw it and it displeased him that there was no justice. Oh, he saw that there was no man and wondered that there was no one to intervene, as he said clearly in the book of Isaiah, chapter 15. Isaiah 59, from verse 15 to 16. God wondered. He first of all saw, he was displeased that there was no justice. And then there was no one to stand the gap. It pained him. Intercessors are those people who intervene between God and the judgment of God on a deserving people. Run to and fro. This is the Bible talking to us in the book of Jeremiah chapter 5 verse 1. He said, run to and fro through the streets of Jerusalem. Look and take note. Search her squares to see if you can find a man, one who does justice and seek truth, that I may pardon her. Jeremiah chapter 5 verse 1. Oh, are there people in our streets, the streets of Cameroon, who are working to see that justice is done? A lot of injustice. God is angry. God is not a respecter of anybody. He does not share his glory with anybody. He punishes sin. Wherever sin is, God's anger takes control. Who are those in the streets of Cameroon? In the streets of the towns, the villages, and the cities? Rather, when we put our ears on the ground, we will hear of this wickedness this way. We will hear of this murder this way. We will hear of this abominable act this way. Tell me, how can God's mercy surpass? How can God's mercy arise and take control? Are there intercessors? Arise. God says we should arise from our quarters, from our homes, our streets, wherever we are, to take to our knees, to pray for the land, that his mercies, that his love, that his favor should come upon our nation, that his blessings, that his forgiveness, that his redemption, his restoration, his peace to come back to our nation. God is calling. God is calling. Come back, come back. He said, I look, but there was no one to help. I was upheld, but there was no one to uphold. Isaiah chapter 63 verse 5. Oh, does it mean any one of you has not heard this call? Does it mean anything to you? God has not changed. Because there was no intercessor, he brought judgment on the people. What he did then, he will also do today. The sinful condition of men has not changed. His judgment is coming. It is imminent. When it comes, it will be devastating. Does it matter to you that he will soon act that way? Does it matter to you that multitude might soon perish? If it matters to you, will you do something about it? If you intend to do something about it, will you start today? Tomorrow may be too late. It could be that the sins of your family, assembly, city, nation, continent, our country, the planet have been piling up, and God is angry and waiting for an intercessor so that he can act. He has waited for a very long time. It could be that today is the point he will reach out where it will be too late to intercede. Please arise. While there remain a few hours before the wrath of God is poured out, will you step into the gap? Will you do something about it? Will you pray? Will you gather your children? Will you hold hands with your family? Will you hold hands with your neighbor to pray and call for God's intervention and call for God's mercy? Cry for God's mercy. Cry for salvation. Cry for redemption. Cry for the dying souls. Pray for sin, the sins that we see everywhere, that God should show mercy. Pray for the spirit of salvation. Praying for the spirit of justice, the spirit of holiness, the spirit of righteousness, the spirit of the fear of God to fill our cities. Can we then arise? Intercessors are needed. God is crying. I seek for a man to stand the gap, that I might build the broken walls. Will you arise? Will you stand that gap? Will you be there as God is calling? Arise, my brother. Arise, my sister. For now is the day, the hour of the Lord. The mercy of God is about to be revealed. Yet the anger of God will punish sinners. Will you be there to arise, that God will arise and show mercy and save us instead than to bring punishment on us? This is the episode for today. Please follow for the next episode, for it is going to be powerful. It is going to be something else. We are going to be delving deeper into another dimension of intercession and why intercessors are so needed. Thank you. Please, I await for your testimonies. I await for your comments. I await for your tips, anything you want to share to encourage this flow, to this move. Please do well to share so that this message will go across. Thank you.